8:55 Eastern Time, and Columbia and its affiliated stations bring you Elmer Davis and the news.
The President's proposal yesterday for further aid to Britain has met with a mixed reception in Congress. The purpose seems to be approved by most of those who have discussed it publicly, but some members find the proposed method evasive. The President had suggested that the United States government might take over further British orders in this country and pay for them, and then let the British have the goods on some loan or lease arrangement. 2 or 3 congressmen have criticized this as an attempt to get around the Johnson Act and the Neutrality Law, and say they would rather have the issue of repeal of those acts debated directly. There was no official comment in Berlin, but the newspaper Hamburger Fremdenblatt remarked that the British would perhaps find the terms of this proposal somewhat meager, and went on to speak of the limited possibilities of the American armament industry. In Italy, Mussolini's own paper, the Popolo d'Italia, says that the question is not if the United States can manufacture all the projected armaments, but when, which of course is what most people have been saying in this country. The Italian paper naturally argues that we cannot produce in sufficient quantity before England is overthrown, and predicts that the decision will come on English soil. Whether this hint at an invasion is to be taken seriously or not, the British War Office remarked today that there is no closed season for invasions and that the British public must still be on the alert. Meanwhile, it appears that this country is still supplying Germany through Russia with considerable raw material for its war industries. Russia, which had bought no American cotton for 6 years past, bought 77,000 bales this fall, and American commercial attachés report that much of this was shipped via Siberia to Germany. Copper export figures are not yet available, but it was said at the Department of Commerce that the next report would show a huge increase in Russian purchases, and most of this went to Germany, too. Overseas, hard fighting is going on about the Italian base at Bardia, and Rome claims that the British pressure has eased up and the offensive seems to have spent itself. The British tell a different story, but admit that the Italian resistance is very tough. Bardia is under constant bombardment from sea and air, and Derna, 150 miles down the coast, was also heavily bombed last night. The fascist editor Gaida claims that the Italians are inflicting ruinous losses on the British, and he also says that the Greek advance in Albania has been stopped. This appears to be an exaggeration, but certainly it has been very much slowed up lately, though the Greeks blame this on the mountain blizzards as well as on Italian resistance. They report some local successes today, however, and say that the story that the Italians had recaptured Porto Palermo was based on a misunderstanding of a Greek statement. No direct comment has come from Italy on the story circulated in Yugoslavia last night that 50,000 German troops are already on Italian soil. But our Rome correspondent, in a broadcast earlier this evening, said that the Italian papers feature German interest in Italy's war, and he pointed out that since Italian air squadrons are cooperating in the German attack on England, a precedent has been set for German aid to Italy in case that should seem desirable. London has now had no air raids for more than 48 hours, and no planes have been reported anywhere over Britain tonight. The weather may be partly responsible, but the British now believe that the Germans are saving their planes for a mass attack to come sometime in the latter part of the winter. British planes, however, were out last night, attacking Mannheim again, though not so vigorously as the night before, and also bombing Brest and other French Channel ports. Radio reports today of the torpedoing of a 12,000-ton British ship and of a Dutch and a Norwegian tanker emphasized the steady drain of British shipping losses, which, though still at less than half the rate of the worst month of 1917, are regarded as Britain's most serious problem. Today, the British bought 16 old American freighters with a total tonnage of 147,000, which have been laid up at Norfolk and New Orleans, and they are believed to be negotiating for some of the 37 Danish ships now laid up in American ports. Some officials in Washington have been discussing the possibility that these and other intern ships might be taken over by the United States government, but it is a question whether there is legal authority for this. The State Department announced tonight a change in passport visa regulations, which would permit the entry into the United States of 2,000 European refugees of superior culture and character, whose names were taken from the list submitted by the various committees organized here to help political and intellectual fugitives from Nazism.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.